Namaste, my friends. Welcome back to the Ancient Wisdom Channel. Today we have a special guest, a longtime friend of mine, Ethan Campbell, who I've known, we've known each other for our entire adult life and probably longer.
Which is a long time.
Okay, today we're going to be talking about the nature of evil, how to transform it, how to transcend it, how to recognize it, and, recover from any kind of darkness. So I thought we would start with introducing each other, Ethan.
Sounds good.
Okay.
I have some notes right here.
Okay. Feel free.
Here I go. My friend Michelle, aka Devika Mira, grew up in a community for personal growth and progressive spirituality called the Pathwork, which is also where we met. I was part of that group as well. And even after becoming inactive in the Pathwork community, Michelle pursued study of ancient wisdom modalities, philosophy, and new thought, world religions, and natural and karmic healing for body, mind, and spirit. In 2001, after 9/11, she officialized her choice to devote her life to service and was ordained as a Universal Brotherhood Movement minister. She officiates ceremonies for people and their pets, such as weddings, memorials, pet blessings, and house blessings. Currently, she's enrolled in courses with the Lunar Astro-Vedic Academy. She plans on immersing herself in the Vedic sciences for the rest of her life, which is pretty awesome when you think about it.
Thank you so much, Eeks. I appreciate that. So I will introduce you. Ethan is a lifelong student of personal growth, spirituality, and the nature of reality. And I respect Ethan a whole lot for his insights and all of the things that he's studied and thought about. We've had amazing conversations in the past, and I'm sure that this conversation is also going to be amazing. So I'll start with some of my thoughts about the nature of evil. And I want to say that by identifying evil without dwelling in it too much, we are indeed shining a light in a dark and hidden place. What I call Mr. Evil or Ms. Evil, they're not going to feel comfortable in this case. They don't want to be identified. It's kind of like when a person is in a dark room for a long time and somebody comes and turns on a bright light and it's kind of painful. You want to cover your eyes. So when darkness is hidden in darkness, it's camouflaged and it can operate and pull the strings from behind the subconscious. And for some people, even consciously, they allow that to happen. But I think that most people are unconscious about it. I think that dark aspects exist in everyone. And part of why we're here is to purify those dark places in ourselves. What happens often also is that because we know that we have these aspects, we try to cover them up with a mask, like our personal mask, and we pretend to be something that we're not really. And so that mask actually creates even more of a darkness. It's like it creates the hidden space for the lower self, the shadow part of us to operate. Now, for the people who follow me who are in Vedic astrology, this kind of equates to Rahu, which is the north node of the moon, whose story, in his story, he disguises himself in order to get the nectar of immortality. which had been reserved for the devas, the so-called higher beings. And in this situation, it's automatically already a dualistic situation where they're better than you. And it's a kind of a separation. And that itself is how I define evil. The nature of evil is duality. It's splitting apart. It's you against me, where you must lose in order for me to win. It's fear. It's the belief that we're separate and not unified. It's the opposite of love, because love is the unifying force that brings everything together. It brings together. It brings healing. And so, yeah, later we can talk about how to transcend this and transform this. So I'm going to pass it over to you now, Ethan. I know that you have also your ideas and you've thought a lot about this. So take it from here.
Thanks, Michelle. Yeah, I almost don't know where to start because I got so many ideas about this. But I think one interesting distinction that there may not be a clear answer to is there a difference between negativity and evil? So negativity, anger, self-centeredness, wanting to control people in your life so you can feel better or have what you want, versus really nasty stuff like murder, genocide, all those torture, serious abuse. And I think that I would not be saying what I'm about to say 5 or 6 years ago, before I came into contact with a woman who I call my consciousness technician, who developed something called HBLU, which is a whole collection of healing and transformative modalities that deal directly with trauma in the psyche, as well as negative influences from what you might call generally the dark side. And evil and good, God and the devil, are not equal forces, I don't think. However, here we are in duality on planet Earth, physical reality. And if you look at the state of humanity right now, I see a lot of positivity, a lot of good, a lot of reason for hope. But also, as anybody can see, there's an immense amount of really nasty craziness going on right now. I don't know that it's any worse than it's been throughout human history, but if it isn't any worse, it's certainly getting publicized a lot better because of TV and the internet and all the communications technology that we have. So the model that I use these days, and all these things are models, okay? Because I don't think that we have the ability to grasp reality, ultimate reality. In other words, what's really going on, including behind the scenes in our own personal subconscious and the subconscious of the entire race, of the entire planet, and other levels of reality, the non-physical levels. For me, the physical reality is all important because we're here, and I don't believe in trying to get out of it by meditating your way to a higher plane and forgetting about what's going on here. I'm not against meditation. I wish I did more of it. But I lost my train of thought. This is what happens, man. I get so off in the weeds.
Well, while you were talking,
but to come back, yeah, I think that there is a non-physical consciousness of evil whose purpose is to mess with humankind and maybe other kinds of sentient beings throughout reality, and that this consciousness feeds off of our negative emotions. And I didn't come up with this on my own. There's many other people who say this. And so a lot of what I've learned in the last few years from Judith Swack, the developer of HBLU, Healing from the Body Level Up, is how to deal with the influences of these negative entities. And I have found in my own personal growth, I mean, I've been doing, since Michelle and I met years ago in the path work, which was all about transforming personal negativity. It was very powerful for that. I've done a lot of that kind of continued, as Michelle has, in different modalities of healing the inner child or the wounds that we carry from whatever, cluelessness from our parents growing up, all that kind of stuff, or, society. I mean, just sitting in a freaking schoolroom for 5 hours a day when you're 4 years old and not being allowed to move, that's a form of torture in my book. I mean, and I'm not meaning to exaggerate or be hyperbolic. I really think it is torture. So, and then there's this whole other dimension, like I always thought, people talk about Satan and the devil, and I would go, that's pretty funny, man. It's you, baby. It's all me, my own stuff. And that's true too. But I have found so much more personal freedom and sense of connection to who I really am and ability to be who I really am as I've started to address these outside influences, which are basically in the subconscious. I mean, these things are sneaky. They're not going to walk up and knock on your front door and say, here's a contract, sign your soul over to the devil, So I'm a little reluctant to talk this way because I know most people don't really want to hear it and think it's as crazy as I thought it was up until fairly recently in my life. But I guess that's enough to start off with.
Okay. I mean,
enough.
as far as these dark forces or entities, actually spoke about them in a previous video, but not very much at length. But I really believe that they cannot feed or influence us unless we resonate with them or give them permission. And that is given by our own temptation to go in that direction. And I liken it to having a good friend or a bad friend. And somebody I was speaking to the other day also made reference to, when we were kids, we were shown an image of somebody with an angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other shoulder.
Yeah.
The same in the world with friends, with people around us. Somebody who is, for example, okay with stealing, might try to rope you in and say, hey, come on, we can get this, we can steal this thing, right? We could take advantage of this person. And another friend would never do such a thing and would be like, hey, how can we help this person out? And you're there in the middle. And so who do you resonate with and what do you choose? Some people would be tempted and go, yeah, let's go get that thing and let's do the negative thing, which is, again, it's a duality. It's me against that person. Whereas the other friend, saying, hey, what can we do to help this person, is more inclusive and is bringing people together, right? So it's that way with those outside forces too. I think they have no power. In fact, I think that in general, the power of love, unity, and unity consciousness is infinitely greater than the power of negativity. It's just a lack of light, and it will most likely implode on itself. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, I mean, to a certain extent, I agree with everything that you're saying, except for what I've discovered is that these beings get in, they mostly come in through the subconscious, and they start in infancy. If you have trauma as an infant, or second, third, fourth year to life, when you start getting verbal, these things are talking to you in your subconscious, and you're making deals, or they're like offering stuff, and you're unknowingly agreeing to this craziness, and they take the form of dysfunctional relationship. Mostly is what it looks like. It's not just I am going to be mad, or I'm going to be, but it's about control, and there's a payoff that's offered.
Yeah.
So if it's unconscious, then you got to have some way of getting down to what that unconscious level is. And we don't want to spend a whole lot of time on this because I think there's a lot to be gained from talking about personal transformation of trauma and my own personal negativity, my own issues with my anger, control issues, all that. I totally think that a lot can be accomplished on that level without going into the crazy. So we don't have to stay with that if you don't want to.
Well, it's a huge topic, and we're going to make a video that's sort of maybe an introduction to this, with throwing out some ideas. Hopefully the viewers will ask questions and make comments, and then from that we can maybe follow up and make another video and answer some of those questions with our own knowledge, our own thoughts, et cetera, et cetera.
Cool.
So, I don't know, I made a couple of notes about what I thought about how to transform, transcend, any of these things. Are we ready to go there?
Sure.
Okay. So the very first thing I wrote down is that in every conflict in life, there's the choice between love or fear. And that's a very simple, straight statement, and not everyone's going to get it right off the bat. But I would ask anyone listening to this to just think about that. Go, live your life and go about your day and remember what I said. And when you have conflict, ask yourself, okay, where is the choice here between love and fear? And which one am I going to choose? The second idea I had was that, and this I got from personal spiritual guidance, that we must make the manifestation of beauty, love, and joy our daily mission. And in doing that, of course, we're going to have issues. We're going to have trouble. Nobody's perfect. And so in those moments where we find ourselves unable to manifest beauty, love, and joy, that's the opportunity to ask ourselves, why? Okay, what is it in me? Why do I have resistance here? Why can't I go and do the dishes right now? Why can't I go and hug this person right now? Questions like that. And that's the opportunity to go within and to try to analyze our inner resistance to the divine, to love, and identify the lower self, which is, again, shining the light on it. And the third thing was kind of what I already said, that with dark or evil forces appearing outside of us, we have to choose not to accept their influence. And this also might require self-examination, to ask ourselves why we might be tempted to do the thing that causes more of a division, more of a split, more of a duality, more fear. And I wrote down a statement that we can say to, if we feel that we're being attacked by an outside force, we can say, I do not accept any energy that is not in alignment with my higher self, with love and beauty and joy. And I know, Ethan, you had once told me of a similar affirmation from the schools of thought that you've been into. Do you remember that?
Was it every day in every way I'm getting better and better?
That's one, but that's not the one I was thinking of.
I don't recall offhand.
Okay. I think you mentioned Christ in yours.
If it was longer than 2 weeks ago, I'll never remember.
Okay, well, it was definitely longer than 2 weeks ago. Maybe it'll come up later and we can put it in the description of the video or in the comments or something.
Okay.
So do you have any other thoughts or positive messages that you want to?
Oh, sure. Yeah, as long as if we're looking at the human personality, for me, the primary goal or the yeah, for personal growth, it always starts with emotional healing. Everyone, almost 99% of the population has some form of what you could call PTSD. I mean, PTSD clinically is a very severe case of walking around with trauma that you can't get rid of.
That's
But everybody
post.
has it to one degree or another. And
Yes,
it's not just things that you pick up in childhood, although that tends to be where most of the really heavy stuff comes from. And then you get echoes of that throughout the rest of your life, because those imprints are looking to be resolved, and they magnetically attract situations, people, and energies that are going to trigger that dysfunctional complex in order for it to be healed, brought into the light, as you say, and to be healed. And I find one of the most effective ways for that to happen is to bring awareness to the emotion that's associated with the trauma. Now, this can be scary for some people. Not everybody's going to want to do this, and maybe not everybody should do this if you're seriously traumatized. But for most people with garden variety unhealed trauma, we have some ability to recall a past incident or be with the feelings that come up in present time as a result of something that happened at work or in a relationship or whatever. And to the extent that I'm able to be with that experience, focusing on the energy in the body, not focusing on what's going on up here, because this is going to keep me deeply embedded in that dynamic, is the word I was looking for before. Breathing with it, just hanging out. And the question I like to ask is, can I allow this experience to be the way it is? And sometimes the answer is no. Like, the goal of the exercise is not to say, yes, 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 I can accept anything, I can feel anything, because you're talking about the id, you're talking about the child self or multiple child selves, some of which don't want to go along with the program all the time, understandably, because they've been traumatized, and their child parts that at the time the trauma occurred had no understanding of life or the bigger picture or what their parents were going through or any kind of context at all. So if you get a part that says, no, I'm not going to feel this, it feels terrible, you can say, and I often do say, oh, good, can you resist feeling that as much as you do? Or can you hate that feeling as much as you do? Not as much as you can, but as much as you do, because it's about being present with what's happening right now. Presence, being fully present in the moment, which is easier said than done, but this is a great way to do it. Things clear with conscious presence and allowing the energy to run. Not all at once, but you'll get a layer today, maybe a layer tomorrow, maybe a layer next week. Things keep coming back because, you know, it doesn't, you just don't wave your magic wand and go poof and have a whole thing disappear. So in a nutshell, that is my favorite way of clearing old trauma. Yep, that's it.
cool. Yeah, I agree that, you know, sometimes a person might not be able to handle that, at least at first, on their own,
Yeah,
and they might need support from somebody who's either a therapist or has done a lot of conscious work on themselves.
yeah, and yeah, you're so right, because I've had a ton of therapy over decades and decades, so I'm really used to doing this with myself. It's always really better to have a partner, as long as they're in tune with you and they understand the process, for sure.
Yes, yes, yes. And of course, as part of my audience will also remember that there are many karmic remedies, mantras, astrological remedies to also bring consciousness and light to those darker places. So
So it looks as though we may be coming about to the end of our time.
I think so for now. And thank you, everyone, for coming back to the Ancient Wisdom channel. If you would like a consultation or a reading, You can contact me at the link in the description, the email in the description, or just the comments themselves. And I want to thank you, Ethan, so much for being here and sharing your wisdom and your insights.
Thanks for having me, Michelle. This has really been fun.
It was lovely. Thank you so much.